the biggest thing that I would tell myself and anyone who's just getting started, I wish I thought of this, is to just think bigger.
Welcome to the InFlow podcast. I am your host, Michelle Bosch. I see a gaping hole across society that focuses on the outer work and forgets about the inner work, when what we really need is to bridge the gap between prosperity and spirituality to live a life in flow, with inflows of light, inflows of cash, inflows of creativity, inflows of grace in our lives. Each week, join me for powerful messages and interviews that will leave you inspired and ready to step into flow in your higher work. So now, let's go. Welcome to the InFlow podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch. I have an amazing lady with me here today, a very good friend, fellow entrepreneur. Her name is Andrea Freeman. Andrea, welcome to InFlow. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Thank you for being here. And just for all of you that are, tuning in, whether on audio or video, I just want to give you a little bit of a background on Andrea here. She is the creator of the Host Your Life Accelerator, which I am excited to learn about. And also, which is how we actually met, she is the host of the Up-Level Entrepreneur podcast. And she has this amazing combination of, mindset with business strategy going on. And that's kind of like your secret sauce. You have been an entrepreneur since you've been a kid, Andrea. So I want to hear actually all about that story, because I know that you started, your entrepreneurial journey at the age of 12 years old. How did that come about? I mean, tell me a little bit about how you grew up. What happened there, the dynamics at home, and then what makes you start your first business? And I want to hear all about it.
Yeah. So I grew up in a very middle-class American home, and I was a member of the Girl Scouts from, the beginning of kindergarten, right? And so in Girl Scouts, they teach you really how to sell door to door, right? Yeah. And so I sold the cookies and I did all that stuff. And when I turned 12, my entire Girl Scout troop got certified to become babysitters. And for me, that was a light bulb moment. I saw the opportunity to be able to market and monetize, to be able to do something that was mine. And so I hit up a neighbor of mine who had a computer, because at that time, everybody didn't have a computer in their home. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want to make some flyers. I want to get the word out. Like, I'm doing this. And we spent a Saturday making up a flyer for Awesome Andreas Babysitting. That was the name of my business. And I went door to door because that's what I knew how to do. That was the limited scope of my business experience at that point in time, was door to door selling. So I put those flyers everywhere, and then people actually started calling. And so I had a little baby business until I was 15. And then I could get like an actual job. And so I did leave my entrepreneurial pursuits for a few years to go be like all the other kids and work like fast food and retail, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. I love that, and that is probably one of the, I would say, best environments to grow. Actually, my daughter, now she's 13 years old. She's no longer part of the Girl Scouts, but we did, we were a Girl Scout, or she was a Girl Scout for 4 years. And we were going always for, winning within her troop, the top sales prize and so on. And just the stamina to go door to door, to get all that rejection, all the no's to get to the yeses, it was awesome. So tell me, so then you go from there to then probably, I think, a few other businesses, and then starting a red carpet or some kind of an event planning business. And something happened there, and you had, a moment where there was a breakthrough. So tell us all about that.
Yeah. So, after McDonald's and going off to college, and I actually went to college to become a teacher, a public school teacher, because
Yeah.
I had started a summer camp when I was 17. Again, part of the Girl Scouts. That time I was working towards my Gold Award, which is like the Eagle Scout and Boy Scouts for anybody who doesn't
Yes.
know, right? It's
Yeah.
the highest award you can get. And so I started a summer camp and I loved it. I learned so much. I mean, I found the facility, I trained the staff. Like, I mean, I did so much, like taking on something that was bigger than me that I had no idea that I was going to learn how to do, but I learned how to do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I was like, what could I do that's like summer camp, but summer camp doesn't happen all year round? I was like, I'll become a teacher. So that was the limited wisdom that I decided to become a teacher with, right? And I spent about 3 weeks in the public school classroom and I was like, oh boy, this is not the place for me. Because here I am, entrepreneurial minded, right? And the reason I didn't discover it in college, that was not the place for me, in college, you are studying educational theory. You get to be on the forefront. You're developing, you're synthesizing, you're being creative. So it seemed like this was going to be a great fit, except that when you actually get into the school, they're like, here's the book, teach this, don't teach anything else. And I was like, oh boy, that's not for me. So I
Yeah.
left after that one and only year of teaching public school. And I went back to school to become a chef. And while I was finishing that year of teaching, I actually started a catering company on the side. So I'm finishing up teaching. I'm learning about business ownership again
You're
at a new
used to,
level.
like, having all these balls in the air. Uh-huh.
Exactly, exactly. And then I get into, high-end catering, working out in the Hamptons. I am private chefing and doing, backyard barbecues for like, the CEO of Michael Kors and like big companies, right?
Wow.
And I finally realized that like I love cooking, and when I have to do it for a profession, it takes all the joy out of it. I want to be at the helm. I want to be bigger picture. So that's when I transition and flip into event planning.
Yeah.
And I continue to scale that. And that ultimately becomes a global company with, red carpet celebrities and the whole 9 yards. And it's really through all of that, growth and personal evolution
Yeah.
that I found my way into mindful business coaching. Because, I mean, as a business owner, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners out there get it too, the personal growth that has to happen in order to grow into those new levels that you're
Yeah.
striving to scale to,
Yeah.
it's massive. It's
Yeah.
massive. And I
Yeah.
love that. I love talking about it. I love helping people get through that. It's the educator in me that now is able to design curriculum with ease. It's just like
Yeah.
I feel like I get to use all my gifts now.
Yeah, absolutely. And to really, help an entrepreneur make that separation, which, it sounds like you're much more of the visionary strategist, and then there's a completely different skill set, and it's not just a superior skill set, but that you must love it, the actual execution and implementation, and that we as entrepreneurs need to have that self-awareness to recognize, okay, which one of these am I? And do I have just a superior skill, but don't love it, and therefore need to, delegate and start bringing in somebody into my team to help me take care of those things so that I can have the freedom of money, time, relationships, and purpose to go do the things that I know I'm meant here to do on this earth. So I totally, totally get it. Now, so tell me, as you were going, through this journey, what was the biggest challenge? Or actually, let me ask you, because it was a courageous choice and decision to, go to college for 4 years and then 3 weeks into decide that this is not it. I mean, that must have taken, some guts. That's a courageous choice for sure. And then how did you navigate that process?
Yeah. So I was really, really fortunate to have some incredible guides in my
Mm-hmm.
life at that
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt, who has always been my hugest cheerleader, and someone who just really understands my way of thinking. Like, like she was the first one who exposed me to like law of attraction and money mindset stuff and holistic wellness and herbs and all of that stuff, right? So while I was teaching, I actually got kind of sick. I worried myself sick, quite literally.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
she helped me on my healing journey. And I spent a lot of time getting energy therapy. She's the herbalist, she's the Reiki person. So I was able to lean on her for some guidance and some
Yeah,
strength.
yeah.
And then she helped me in a way to find my community, because when I left teaching to go into, culinary arts, I didn't go to just any culinary school. I mean, I'm actually from a town where the Culinary Institute of America is like right down the street. You would think that's where I would go, but I didn't. I went to, it's called the Natural Gourmet Institute, and this
Mm-hmm.
is a school that teaches about holistic wellness and French culinary arts all blended together in one program. So it's really very specialized and very niche, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they primarily turn out a lot of private chefs.
Mm-hmm.
So, she kind of helped me find that way to the place that was going to be able to handle and give me the skills to move forward with it in an unconventional way, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it was the first I exposure for me that you can have an unconventional idea
yeah.
and find a community around
Yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. And you know what? This is amazing that we're discussing about this, because we've had, I've had this conversation before where we are right now as, women entrepreneurs completely redefining and creating new models for, how to start a business, grow a business, scale a business. Um, Really are parenting, the dynamics of how the, traditional role models look, or are not traditional at all at home. And so it's amazing, like you said, that there is this big push right now for looking at things outside the box in an unconventional way and coming up with a better, I don't know if it's a better way, but it's a better way that kind of like suits you best, versus trying to fit into, because you were trying to fit into the school system, you were trying to fit into, you know what I mean, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And that, as actually as business owners, I think a lot of business owners and investors for that matter fall into that trap, of like, okay, there's this cookie cutter program, for either house flipping or, we're very unconventional. We flip land, we don't flip houses, we don't touch anything with a structure, or at least we didn't for a very long time. And it's hard to kind of like be that unconventional person, that contrarian that is basically, marching to your own beat
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
creating a niche. But then you realize that there's other weirdos like you, or like me, and you start attracting them. And that we're
Yes.
all, yeah, and that there's many more of us that, of us, and that it shouldn't be a lonely journey. And so talking about that, it sounds like, aunt was one of the very, important relationships in your life. Business wise, any, a significant relationship, or even personally, because at the end of the day, it's whole life leadership, right? We bring our entire selves even to our business, that has had an incredible impact in your journey so far.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's so hard to say just one, right? Because
Yeah.
there have been so many amazing mentors. I've worked with so many phenomenal coaches, and I worked for one of the world's largest leadership development companies in the midst of all of this. So, all of those, I if I had to put it into a category, I would say at each stage of the process to be
Mhm.
able to find that community of people that was diverse, that had people who were where I was in the journey, but also ahead of me in the journey, to
Mhm.
be able to have people who really understood what I was going for, what, like what kind of thinking I do, and hold space for me to show up as the best version of myself so that
Yeah.
I could create something that was authentically mine and that was fulfilling as a business pursuit has been the most valuable thing that I have ever experienced in business.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Um, a if somebody right now was listening and they're either becoming, if they're a beginning investor or already an established investor, which means that they're entrepreneurial. I mean, eventually, we have a community of other weirdos that are flipping land like us, and that basically, had corporate jobs where they had no freedom, no fulfillment. Paydays do not match the energy and effort that you're putting into. And they start, their real estate investing as a little side hustle, and then it becomes their main hustle. And so what are some key things for, a woman starting out, and, that is entrepreneurial, that you would say, okay, this is what I wish I would have said to myself, along the way, as far as, either marketing or mindset or business
Mm.
growth strategy. What would you say?
The biggest thing that I would tell myself and anyone who's just getting started, I wish I thought of this, is to just think bigger. I feel like we very often can put a cap on what we believe is possible, right? And this
Yeah,
has to do with a lot of the things that we hear from our mentors and our
yeah,
parents and our
yeah,
teachers, right? Growing up. And we continue to carry that around as the norm, or the limitation in a way of what's possible. But quite honestly, we live in this incredibly immense, abundant universe, and it is really meant for each one of us to show up and thrive. And thriving for each one of us has its own unique expression, its
exactly.
its own way of us doing it. So don't worry about what everybody else is expecting you to do, thinks you should do, what even you think you should or expect yourself to do. But instead, allow yourself to get into that dreamy space of what's possible and what feels right for you, and start setting your goals and your milestones from that place of anything is possible and I am truly here to thrive. I like to joke around sometimes with people that, like, because we live in this truly abundant universe, that not a single one of us has been handpicked and selected, like, everyone's here to thrive except you. For you, it's going to be a whole lot of hard work. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So if it's hard work, it's because of something that we've been conditioned to
Yeah.
believe that it should be hard. And working hard for money, I mean, that's a big one in our societal structure,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So just allow yourself to maybe kind of be the contrarian to
Yeah.
that kind of mindset by asking yourself, how easy am I going to let it be? How good can I let it be?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I love that. I'm just listening to you. I'm like, yeah, those are amazing questions to, to ask ourselves. And as you were speaking, so very few, I think in business circles, we very seldom hear the word, well, how does this feel to you? And it's got to feel light. It's got to feel like you're going to enjoy this. And you know what? There is, an initial stage where I'm going to say that it is, sometimes hard work, only because you are going through a period of uncertainty, a short period or a temporary period of uncertainty, where you have what I like to call them, complexities of scarcity, maybe not enough time, maybe not enough money, resources. You're trying to figure out, your business model. And as an entrepreneur, that startup phase, 80% of businesses fail there because it's not easy. So there is a little bit of hard, but I get what you're saying, in that, in dreaming, in setting up goals, that they got to be unrealistic. And here's what I'm saying, that which, is aligning, I think, with what you're saying, is when you set up realistic goals, you're like setting them up like, I think that that's overrated, the status quo, and that you really need to, like you said, think bigger. And I think a lot of people set realistic goals because they're scared of failing. They're scared of, oh my God, embarrassment, my peers or my family, what they're going to say, and so on and so forth. And so they put a bar, set the bar low only so that they don't feel bad, about not accomplishing something bigger, when if it's what's in alignment with you, could be something really extraordinary, and it could make money, and you could be enjoying it and experiencing joy and experiencing flow. Because I know you're all about flow as well, Andrea. That's part of what you coach, other entrepreneurs with. Any nuggets there on finding flow and cultivating it on a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think that there is a certain amount of work and effort involved, right? But we're most in flow when we show up and do the things that are within our, zone of genius. I feel like this is such a
Yeah,
popular term right now, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so the things that we excel at, the things that we could do all day, with the least amount of effort, right? The least
yeah,
amount of resistance. I don't have to force myself. I don't have to effort too much. I don't have to push myself or manipulate myself in any way, because there are a lot of things in business that just have to happen, right? But I don't have to do them all. And so I
yeah,
think that for me in my own journey, and I see this with a lot of business owners that I work with, one of the biggest milestones to get to is being able to start building team, to
yeah,
realize that, you know what? Just like, I mean, I'm a mother. I feel like 2020 really taught me that I am not meant to be the only one pouring into my daughter's cup, right? That she is
yeah,
supposed to have a diverse community of people, and other people are supposed, like that whole proverb about it takes a village to raise a child. It
yeah,
also takes a village to raise a business.
yeah, yeah,
So you can allow other people who are those strategic integrators, and that's their zone of genius, and that's where they thrive, and that's where they're lit up, and that's where they're self-expressed, to come in and feed into your business. Because what if, in exploring that question about how good can it be or how easy can it be, what if my business is meant to be bigger and stronger and better and more vital,
hmm,
because everybody in each individual role is living inside of their zone of genius,
yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah.
right? Yeah.
We have something in our company that we call unique ability. And then as a company, what is our unique ability? And for us, it's of course, being a hero to the beginning investor, and pretty much, in land, of course, in land investing, and solving, and being able to alleviate all the pain points that any beginning investor would have, when it comes to land, and so on and so forth. And what you just said, totally resonates in that everyone needs to find that for themselves. And we find ourselves, helping any of the people that come into our program do exactly that as well. Now, how are you helping in because I know you have an accelerator for entrepreneurs as well. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing there, and specifically, how do you help them, build a team around their genius, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So, one of the things that happened as a celebrity event planner is that I got to spend a lot of time around really high performers, right?
Yeah,
So, I was working with red carpet celebrities and CEOs of major companies and people who were just operating in a sustainable way at a very, very high
high
level.
level.
And
Yeah,
so, because I was serving this group, I also needed to be able to operate at a really high level in a way that was sustainable. So, I started to kind of like look around and notice the common threads of what they were doing in their lives and in their businesses. And sometimes we don't think of celebrities as businesses, but trust me, they
they,
are businesses.
yeah,
They have
yeah,
whole teams that engineer all of the things that are happening, right?
yeah,
They are
yeah.
business. They are the face of the business, but they are
Absolutely.
businesses.
They're front stage,
So,
but there's a team
yeah,
behind them for sure. Yeah.
absolutely. So, what I recognized is what I ultimately ended up putting together as the host your life method. So, inside of the accelerator, my clients get trained in how to be a host in their life. And what I mean is, so if you're at a party, right? There, you could be a guest at a party. And when you're a guest at a party, you don't have a say in anything really. You don't say who's invited or what music is playing or what food's being served, right? When you're a guest, you show up and you take what's offered. But there's another way to do life and there's another way to do business, and that's to be a host so that you can create something that's authentically yours, that's a unique expression for you. And if you're being a host in any area of your life, but we'll look at business for this example, you are doing a few things. The H is that you're honoring your why. Now, there's a lot of talk these days about having a why, find your why, discover your why, right? But there's very, very little talk about honoring your why.
Yes.
Right? So we're looking at not only getting clear about your why, but then how do you infuse it into every area of your life and your business? How do you make sure that you're using it as your compass and your guiding star to be able to make sure that your marketing is in alignment, that your sales system has integrity, right? So there's all of this infusion of our why into our businesses so that we really feel like we fit into our business, that it reflects our core values. So after you're very clear about that and you've infused that, then you're doing the O, which is to own who you truly are. And this is really getting tapped into your infinite capacity, right? Like no more playing small, showing up, playing big, going full out. And this is often where imposter syndrome then starts to kick in, right? We realize that we've set a threshold, and we don't, it's like arbitrary. I don't even know why I decided that, 6 figures or 7 figures was the limit. Like it's an infinite universe. Why did I pick that number? So we're looking at what's getting in our way and what's kind of limiting our full self-expression. And anywhere that we're noticing that we're limited, that we're shifting our perspective. So that's the S. We're shifting out of that limited perspective and into allowing ourselves to own more fully who we are.
I love that.
And then ultimately, when you end up in that place where you're clear about why you're doing, what you're doing, how you're doing it, the way you're doing it, what makes it unique for you and sets you apart from the market, right? You've got all those pieces dialed in and you have a system and practices in place for keeping yourself in that elevated perspective. You ultimately end up in this place that's really kind of effervescent and very full and overflowing to share your gifts with the world. And that is ultimately when you take inspired action. So I teach my clients to be able to create their goals and manifest in their businesses, not from a place where so many business owners are creating from, which is a place of lack and scarcity, right? Like I don't have X revenue. I don't have X number of clients. I don't have X number of followers on social media, whatever the thing is.
It's a lot of false metrics,
Yeah. But whatever it is that you're measuring, right? If you're trying to achieve it from a place of focus on how you don't have, you will get more of what you don't have. Instead, focus on an abundant perspective. Focus on how very much you have to give and serve the world with, and serve from that place. And what opens up in those businesses is, that's when you're scaling with flow, with ease, with grace. And honestly, that's when your business really starts to feel like it fits into your life, not trying to fit your life in between business.
I know. Yeah. Retrofitting it into, retrofitting the life into the business for sure. So then the S stood for scaling or
Shift your perspective.
For shifting your perspective. Got it. Yeah. I love it. And the T?
Take inspired action.
Take inspired action. Okay. I'm like, because I was like, okay, what are the H, the O? But I'm like, she talked about other words had the S and the T. Perfect. I love that. So, so if someone wanted to learn more about you, Andrea, and what do you do, where can people go and, find more about you, your goodness? I know you're on Instagram over there. I know you're very active over there.
I am on Instagram. That's a great place to actually meet up with me. And, if you listen to this episode, let me know. Slide me a DM. I'm at @afreeman_Insta. But, if anybody's looking for more specific kind of, wanting to get some training and, whatever, I have a free Facebook group. People can get in there. I do free trainings all the time. And that's called the Up Level Collective.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Andrea. Well, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure. And just talking about being unconventional, being owning, who you truly are, really honing in your why. That's something that is so important, even, within our trainings, for people to actually discover that. And like you said, not have it like something that is like just on the wall, on a piece of paper, but that actually permeates your life every day, because that's what makes, what may seem like, the tasks that may seem not as sexy, at least in the beginning, when you're trying to build team and you don't have still the resources to bring team to actually getting them done, is permeating that why, and understanding, your value, so that eventually you can bring team on board. It's been a conversation about feeling, about, just a conversation that is different than you normally typically have, where everyone is talking about ROIs, or or metrics, or KPIs, which are, all of those things are important. But like you said, there's this forgetfulness, I think, of trying to find a more soulful way of doing business, and making it really your own, so that it really fits your life, versus the other way around. So thank you so much, Andrea. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And I can't wait, for our listeners to, come and learn more about you as well. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Michelle. This has been great.
Thank you.
I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to get inflows of cash, inflows of light, and inflows of faith in your life. I welcome your reviews on iTunes. Please leave me a review and help me create an amazing community of women in flow. Thank you, as always, for sharing your voice by going to michellebosch.com and joining the conversation about this show. And while you're there, grab a copy of my 10 Commandments to Living a Life in Flow. You can also follow me on Facebook at Michelle Bosch and on Instagram at Michelle Bosch Official. Thank you very much, and until the next one.